How do I start my own business?
Being my own brand would be totally legit.
I want to be the next Gary Vee.
My dream is to be on Shark Tank.
I'm just gonna Google it.
I mean, I'm awesome at social media. What could go wrong?
Oh my God.
Hello, everyone. This is Kelly Bassetti with Learning Curves. Thanks for joining my show today. I am so excited about the guest I have today. I have Amanda Holmes joining me today. She is the CEO of Chet Holmes International, and I've been listening to her podcast over the last several days and diving into all of her content. And this is like the best New Year's gift that I could give to all of you, is having her on my show today. Amanda is part of a company that her father started, Chet Holmes, who wrote one of the top sales books of all time called The Ultimate Sales Machine. It hit #1 for several years and one of the most powerful, inspirational books to help big, huge companies and small companies, medium-sized companies, Fortune 500 companies become very successful in their sales processes. And they've helped, what are some of the companies that you've helped, Amanda? Like several.
Yeah, I mean, 60 of the Fortune 500 and 250,000 in total. So anything you could think of,
Yeah.
right? Wells Fargo, Apple, FedEx, everything from Jiffy Lube to screws and chiropractors and real estate, you name it. We do everything.
I love it. I love it. She is in the process right now of, she has a new book coming out where you're basically took the Ultimate Sales Machine and updated it with the latest content, because a lot of things have changed over the years as far as marketing goes.
Yes, absolutely. Crazy enough, though, when I first asked to do the new edition, I asked our fans, what would you like to see in the new edition? And they said, nothing. It's perfect. Don't touch it. So as much as it's, 15 years old now, but it's still so relevant and so timeless.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And Amanda, also, you have such an inspirational story about how you've got started with your career, and a lot of things on my show. I definitely want to talk about your book and, coming into the new year, some advice that you have for businesses. But we'd also love to hear you have such a great story to tell. She started as a musician, a beautiful singer, and you have to go on a YouTube channel and listen to some of her songs. I love that. And then from there, took over her father's business. So I'm just been so in love with everything, your music, just listening to your podcast, everything that your book has to offer. I'm going to be signing my company up for her training program for next year. I think it's going to be a great New Year's gift from my staff and myself. But let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in your journey?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for such a loving introduction. Yes. So I guess in my career in business, I went from releasing my 4th album as a singer-songwriter, and then my father got ill. So I took care of him for a year and a half while he was battling cancer. And we were looking through all these different alternatives under the sun, and that's how I actually met my guru, who I study under. And here I am teaching meditation in Asia, and then the doctors call and say, your father's going to pass away, you need to come back. I came back, and my father passed within a couple of weeks. And then here I am with a couple hundred staff, all double my age, and I'm looking around going, I have no idea what to do here. I just want to go back to Asia and meditate. This is scary. But over time, so it took me about 2 years of hiring and firing different C-suites, CMOs, CTOs, CEOs, trying to find that hole, to fill that gaping hole that was my father, that now he was gone. He wasn't in the day-to-day for many years, right? But it was that heart and soul that it felt like this body no longer had a heart.
Right.
So eventually I did muster up the courage, and I stepped in as CEO at 26, and I've been CEO for the last 7 years, and it's been lovely. We've grown. We have continued on the legacy. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, I was just listening to your story, what you talk about in your podcast. And so when you, the people that you have, like when you went through that hiring process of trying to find other people to help you kind of fill those gaps, talk to me a little bit about that.
Oh boy, because that's interesting full circle, because we're kind of in this place now where, one of the biggest things holding people back for this next year is hiring and staffing.
That's what's holding me back right now.
Well, you and the 4 million people that left their jobs in August alone, right?
Yes.
It's a huge mass exodus for so many industries right now. It's just crazy. But I'll tell you where they're flocking, as I was telling you earlier. They're flocking to companies that have a belief-driven mentality. So I wish I had that knowledge back when I was trying to hire, because I was just trying to fill that the different positions and looking at resumes and not trusting myself and losing track of my own intuitive capability, which I think is crucial as a business leader, right? There's just that feeling that you can't quite explain, but and it caused me a lot of pain in my hiring processes, I must say, back in the day.
I'm going through that pain right now. I think I told you earlier that this past year has been extremely painful. Had a couple people leave from just what you said, the max. I think most business owners, lots of my friends that own companies, all of us very frustrated this year, seeing some of our top employees leave, they're getting poached, and then interviewing people. I think I interviewed over 100 people.
Wow.
And didn't really get anywhere with it. Wow. And leaving very frustrated and what's going on. Does anybody want to work for me?
Yes.
It's not, I hear it's not just me. It's like so many different companies that are going through it. And I know that you've gone through some research, and I think what you're going to say is going to be really helpful, not only to myself, but several other of my friends that are out there that are struggling with the same issue right now.
Well, so that's one really interesting thing that has come from the pandemic is it's as if the world shut down, and when we came back, we gained a conscience. It's like we had the time with all of the mirage of our outside world. When that was shut down, we really had to look at ourselves in the mirror and go, what do we really want? Who am I, right? I need to buy a puppy or have a baby or something because I can't handle looking at myself in the mirror, which is an interesting concept, right?
Yes.
But so then we came back out, and one of the most important things for CEOs this last year has been environmental social governance. We don't even really know what that, have you heard of ESG?
Not until I listened to your podcast the other day. When you said that, I'm like, I have never heard of that before.
Nobody's heard of it, and yet it's, according to Bloomberg, according to 4 other major studies of this last year. So if we look at all of the initiatives that are happening to help the environment, Biden put billions of dollars towards any company that's willing to have some kind of environmental initiative. You have social governance that's happening. I mean, we had the Black Lives Matter movement, huge, right, with the riots, and now women are like, breaking every glass ceiling they can find. They're just looking for them to just shatter them, right? So we're seeing so much social and environmental push, and these staff or employees are looking for that kind of fulfillment from their job. They're looking for alignment with a company that they work with that has that mission. So originally it was only that people cared about their pay, their 401k, all of these things. Now that's still of one of the 3 priorities when they look to hire, but they're also looking at, do I have flexibility?
Yeah, work-life balance is huge right now.
Huge. I just yesterday was talking to my executive assistant, and I'm like, I would love for you to come on more this next year. And she said, no, I need more time for me. I was like, okay, girl, you go, you make it happen. That's awesome. I'm also a little shocked, but I'll accept it
Right.
because that's a great response, right?
Hearing that a lot lately.
It is because
Yeah.
we've seen the value being through the pandemic of how important it is to go back to ourselves, and I can honor that and think that that's really beautiful. So for business leaders, number one, it's the flexibility of the workplace. Can you provide them some kind of, you can work from home or you can work at certain days, right? If it's maybe mixed, there just has to be flexibility with being in and out of the office.
Right. Something I want to ask you about that. 'Cause I've been struggling with that concept, and I think a lot of business owners that have been around as long as I have been,
Yes.
25 years in, working and having my staff come in, I'm very old school.
Yep.
So I've been really struggling with that whole thing. I think that was part of my hiring issues is I couldn't find anybody that actually wanted to come into the office. And owning a marketing company, an advertising agency where we thrive on collaboration.
Right.
I knew during the pandemic we did that whole everybody work from home, but we really missed like the team being together and working together. And I always felt when the teams together were much stronger and do so, how do you overcome that? Or what are some of your suggestions that you can make to companies like mine that have this old school mindset that struggle because we love to have that collaboration in our teams around us. That's what makes us thrive.
Yes. Okay. So according to research, because we did a lot of research on this for some of our core stories that came out, according to research, when people work from home, they're actually more productive, which is interesting because they don't clock out and clock in as much as you'd think. And the, sitting around the water, what is it called?
The water cooler.
Thank you. I'm like, what is that thing? I don't know what it's called. Yeah, sitting around the water cooler doesn't happen as much. So statistically, they're more productive. I have seen, so I'm on a board of one of the largest IT managed services companies in the world. They're called JMark. They're out of Missouri, and they just won Best Places to Work. They've hit the Inc. 5000 list 8 times. They're wonderful.
Oh, wow.
And being a tech company, their slogan is people first, technology second. And they really live and breathe that. And what I've found interesting through the pandemic, what they've done, because they're also very similar to you, where it's all in person every day. They call it the knock, where all of them sit and they gather and they talk, and it's a really cool vibe, and all these screens everywhere.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So what they've done is they've made days where everyone has to come in. So every week at least you're seeing them, right? So there's mandatory days that everyone comes in. And then they always make sure that every Friday they have a rally. So then we're still cultivating that culture and that environment of feeling like they want to stay at this company because there is a culture and there are people that come together and enjoy each other's company, which I found to be fascinating. So they lead the rally by, let's celebrate everyone. Let's, talk about this person that's done something nice. Let's recognize somebody else. The staff gets to recognize other people that they think are doing great work, right?
I love that.
It's a great positive reinforcement. And then they'll all crack open a beer or or they'll have lunch and they'll all eat. They'll cook up, they're from Missouri's the South, so they'll do a whole frying, some barbecue, something.
Yeah.
And
so that's a fun reason to want to come into the office because,
Yes.
if you come in on that day, you're going to be, celebrate your team members. You're going to get celebrated and also, do some fun things that you all love to do together.
I had another client. I wish I
That's
knew
really
this.
cool.
I wish I knew the stat off the top of my head, but one of the biggest drivers, easiest drivers of culture is by feeding your staff, feeding them, paying for their food. It's priceless.
They
I
love
wish I had
the
the
food.
stat. I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but it was a pizza company that we assisted to grow their sales by selling market data to them. But so if you can feed them and bring them all in. So we have to find more reasons to bring people together and give them a reason to cultivate and give them that sense of, wow, I'm so glad I'm here, because you have, the millennial generation like me where I've never worked in a workplace. Never. Our company's been virtual since 9/11.
Oh my gosh.
As soon as the Twin Towers went down, we went, oh my God, we can't be in a physical place. We can't have it all based on events. So I've been virtual my entire career. But seeing experiences like J-Mark, every time I'm there quarterly. I'll stay extra days because I just love the environment and I love what they've created. So can you create an environment that is attractive? And some easy ways to do that is, can you feed people?
Yes. And we get the tax write-off now.
There you go.
I think a lot of companies might have a couple years ago, we weren't allowed to get that any longer.
Oh,
So,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It was they gave businesses a lot of great, they lowered our tax margins, but they also took away no entertaining of clients, and also no meals any longer. Like you couldn't write off meals.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but all that's back now. Like you can do
that's great.
entertainment and you can do all the write-offs and you can do all that. So yes, you have a tax benefit by doing all that.
Even better.
So even better. But even if you don't have it, obviously it's a good thing to do because your employees love it.
Yes.
That's I'm like, okay, we're gonna have a meeting, everybody. I'm gonna bring in pizza or whatever while we're having the meeting. They're like, oh yeah, they'll all come down there and they're excited. But otherwise, they're like, oh my god, I have to go down there. I'm gonna sit here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I love the idea of the Friday. I've heard other companies doing half day work days on Friday and just giving their team more time to do things that they want to do.
Yeah. I've heard salespeople where if they hit their quota, they don't have to come into work that week. If they hit it on Tuesday, they don't have to come into work for the rest of the week. They're like, all right. So I found that fascinating, that they'd pick the time over the money.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting too because when I was younger, in my 20s, I was always very money motivated. Mm-hmm. So I guess you get trained to be like that workhorse kind of thing, and when the bonuses and all that, I would always. That was my goal. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that. But nowadays, I try to do those bonuses, and you're right, they just don't work as much as instead of saying, hey. How about the bonus fee? You get a day off.
Yep.
And they love that.
They love it.
And it really doesn't cost you anything.
No.
Bonus money costs you, but they don't really care about that as much. Yeah. I mean, some people might, but you're right. A majority of them, they just want that time.
The freedom.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So one of the topics that you have several topics that.
Well, we talked about the 3 biggest things holding you back. I can go through the others. Would you like to hear them?
Yes, I would like to hear some of the others.
So number 1 is hiring and staffing. That's one of the biggest things that is a challenge. And I think we actually built upon what I had talked about previously. So it was good.
Yes.
I'm going to take that to more of my interviews. So thank you for that. That was interesting. Number 2 is the shiny object syndrome.
Oh, I am the worst. You put something shiny in front of me, and I'm like, okay, let's go do this over here. Let's go do that over there. And I think a lot of us have, especially trying to make changes and things like that. The shiny objects are even more now, I think, than they ever were before for a lot of business owners.
Absolutely. Especially, we look at our phone an average of 96 times a day.
That's
crazy. Right? So what is the shiny object? A lot of the time it's just the phone, right? With all of the notifications popping up. So there was a study done at, I can't remember which university it was, but they did a study on focus. And they found that if you're doing something, let's say you're doing a task, and then your focus gets derailed, it takes 45 minutes for you to get back into that place of focus. And in between that 45 minutes, you have the equivalent as if you had slept only 4 hours. So we're using a fraction of our brain every time we're getting notified on something else and looking somewhere else. So the importance of focus is so crucial today, which one would just be turn off your notifications when you're working.
Right, or put your phone away.
Yes, so we teach 6 steps for time management secrets of billionaires. So when my father originally got his big break working for Charlie Munger, co-chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, and he realized that to work with Charlie, there were a lot of different things that he had to do to be able to get his time and how he managed his time, because a billionaire has the same 24 hours in a day, right? They're just smarter about their time. So one great New Year's resolution, if you want it, is
I need a New Year's resolution like that.
become a master at your time.
Yes.
So how do you become a master at your time? Stop being reactive and instead be proactive. So here's a really quick.
I love that.
I'll give you just a really quick exercise that you can do at the beginning of your day. It takes 10 minutes and it will change your entire rest of your day.
At CEA Marketing, we take your business, your passion, and your why, and we sell it. If you're unsure where to start marketing your company, CEA Marketing is here to help. Our team at CEA has tons of experience and top-notch training, which helps you take all the stress and confusion out of marketing your own business. After years of working with large companies like Pulte Homes, the Outback Bowl, and Metro Places, we guarantee the successful implementation of a marketing strategy.
So it's 6 steps. Step number 1, touch it once. When you see something, how many times do you reread an email?
Right.
It's actually the equivalent of a full week's vacation in a year. The amount of times that we reread information and go, oh, I'm going to do something with that. I don't know what to do with it yet. So instead, take action on it. So you read an email, okay, this is too long. Write back to them, say, hey, this is a really long email. Let's discuss this in our weekly meeting, right? Or if it's something that you need to take action on, I need more time to think about this. Give me some time. I'll get back to you later. Or put it into a folder and take action on it. This is the folder that I spend more time to reply on, right? So we're taking some kind of action instead of being in the spinning wheel.
Yeah.
Of
I think I'll go back
continually.
to emails like, I don't even know how many times, but a lot. And then I get distracted by that shiny object. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
And then maybe by the 20th time, I'm actually doing something with the email.
Email's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting. That's so true.
So touch it once.
Yes.
Number 2 is list off your top 6 things. So we can do a to-do list of 24 things and we feel amazing when we check off each thing.
Yes.
But let's be prioritized about what is most important. So list only your top 6. So whoever's listening, right, write these down because these
Yes.
are crucial. And they're also in the first chapter of the Ultimate Sales Machine. So list off your top 6. Then number 3 is how much time will each task take? So if you can clump it down, okay, well, I need to put out a contract to a client. That'll take me about 30 minutes. It'll take me an hour and a half to do this one long, arduous process. Okay, an hour and a half. This other thing will probably take me 4 hours. I probably won't be able to get it all done today. What portion of it can I get done today, and how much time will that take me, right? So you really get smarter about the time that it takes so that by the end of your day, you are, have you ever had it where you have things on your to-do list and by the end of the day, you're like, I didn't even get to 4 out of the 6 of them,
all
right?
the time.
All the time.
Yep.
So this helps change that. So your expectation of the day you meet every day. So then the fulfillment at the end of the day is so much more
You
gratifying.
go home and you are probably less stressed and can
Yes.
probably sleep better because you don't have your brain thinking about all the things that you were supposed to get done but didn't get done and have to still do.
Much more clear. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're allotting how much time it takes for each task. And then the 4th step is actually placing it into your schedule, right? So from 8 to 8:30, I'm going to do that contract. From 8:30 to 9, I'm going to check on my staff and make sure they're all doing the right things, right? From 9 to 10, I'm going to check my email. So here's a crucial part of it. Your day is mostly proactive, and you're scheduling your reactive time. Instead of being reactive all day long, if somebody has something to say, you're answering it because they're asking. You're
Yeah.
now allotting that time and saying, I'm busy right now. I have time to check my emails, to reply to Slack messages, to
Right.
go on social, right, from 10 to 11, right? And it's not the first thing I do in my day because that might steer my day away from what I need to do. It happens in the middle of the day. It happens towards the end of the day. Maybe it's 2 times a day where I'm putting reactive time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I find myself doing is checking my email constantly. And then you're never really,
Present with what you're doing and what
Right.
your priorities are versus what everyone else's priorities are. So how do you move your company forward? You do it by being proactive about your time, right? Every day, right? So then
I love that. Love it.
yes. So then and then you're prioritizing. So 5th is actually prioritizing everything that's in the schedule. So then you've already have, like, let's say it's from 8 to 5. You've planned it all out. A lot of the time I'll plan out my day and go, oh, nope, that's completely off because the most important thing I haven't even put into the day yet. So now let me switch things around. Okay, I'm not going to get that done. That's okay. But I can get this done. Wow, that's great. And then if I know that I have to do much more critical thinking, I'll take a bigger break in the middle of my day to take a walk, to do some yoga, to play my guitar, something where I know that's going to refill me so that in the second part of the day, I'm knocking it out of the park, right? So you're much smarter about analyzing how you work and what you're getting done because you're tracking it every day. You start noticing your patterns of this is when I work the best, this is how I work the best. So the expectation, right? And then the last thing is, number 6 is, will it hurt me to throw this away? Because 80% of material that we stuff away never gets referred to again.
Yeah.
So those are the 6.
That's interesting. And I think another thing I think I remember listening to, which is really important. A lot of us on our to-do list, if it's the one thing that we really don't want to do, that's the thing that we procrastinate on the most. That always stays on our list, like that thing that, oh my God, like I just don't want to do that.
And yet we need it the most a
and
lot
we
of
need
the
it
time.
The most. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, I can do that tomorrow. But I loved when you said that that's really maybe the thing that you should put on the top of your list just to get it out of the way and then move on.
And then you'll feel so much better about your day when you know that you've gotten that done. And sometimes it's maybe that it just needs to be chunked down. Like my father, everybody told him for decades that he needed to write a book. And he's like, I run 12 companies and I work with the Fortune 500. Like, I don't have time. But instead, he left just 2 hours every Monday night from 6 until 8. He said, okay, once a week for 2 hours, I will write my book. And it took him 2 years, but it's now in the top 10 most recommended marketing sales books of all time. And it has carried on past his life. And I've been able to pick up that torch because of this wonderful book that he left behind. So those big projects that feel like could never be done, can you commit to 1 hour a week? Or if it's a 4-hour project, can you commit to 30 minutes today, right?
Right. Yeah, that's so helpful. So helpful. I can always see that with my team too. Like some of the certain, I'm like, I know they don't want to do. So it's interesting. I want to make sure that I give them that piece of advice, and I need to take it myself because it's so good.
Well, it's so good. And then the hardest part, so you'll do it and you'll go, wow, that was the most productive day I've had, right?
Yes.
You'll do it on a Thursday. Maybe you heard this podcast on a Thursday. You'll do it on Friday. You'll be like, oh my God, that was so good. By Monday, you'll come back and be like, oh, well, I had a break. I'll do the top 6, but I won't put it into my schedule. And then it'll kind of wane off. So the most crucial part
putting
of
it into your schedule, putting it onto your calendar.
Well, the thing is, we call it pig-headed discipline and determination, PhD. Do you have the pig-headed discipline and determination to do it every single day? That will be the hard part. It won't be that the thing doesn't work, because I guarantee you it works and it's amazing. But do you have the PhD to keep it going?
Well, it's all about developing that habit. You
Yes.
know, I'm learning all about that because I've been doing the Noom app, which I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
That helps you like track your what you're eating every single day, and you put it into the app, and it kind of makes you think about what you're eating.
Oh,
and
nice.
You have an app and it has notifications going, hey, don't forget to track. So by psychologically, you're putting this information into this app, which makes you think about, okay, if I have to put it in here, you think about what kind of food you're putting into your body. Is like, is this healthy for me? Is this helping me get to my goal? Which I put goals in this app also. So it's making me be accountable. But and also every day by doing that, you're creating a habit for yourself.
Wow.
That's a habit towards a healthy lifestyle, healthy eating, healthy choices.
Wow.
And you start thinking about what you're putting into your mouth, and it works.
Awesome.
It works instead of taking some diet pill that thinks magically you're going to lose weight. This way, you're doing it in a healthy way.
I love
that gets you
that.
thinking about everything.
Wow.
So
What's the app called again?
it's called Noom.
Noom. I love that.
Yeah, but kind of what you're saying is kind of similar to what I've been doing with this app. That really, when I started using the app, I ended up losing like 15 pounds recently.
Wow.
So it works.
Great.
Yeah, but by this, I can't wait for next year to implement that and do that for myself
Yes.
every single day, because I think it's going to relieve so much stress and just help you move forward with so many different things. So
Yes.
thank you for all that.
Yeah.
I love that. And then there was a
third.
number 3.
Yeah, which I'm sure you could speak to a ton, right? The multiplicity of marketing mediums. So
Yes.
so if we look back at the span of business over the last century, we really, for the first half century, we had only innovated from radio to television. And that took 50 years. So it took 30 years for radio to get to 50 million users. It took half that. It took 13 years to get to 50 million users for television. Then we get to Facebook. The internet took 7 years, so we halved that. It took 7 years for the internet to get to 50 million users. Facebook took 4 years to get to 50 million users. And then I think the most recent, which I thought was crazy, you know that Pokemon game?
Yes.
It
My
took
kids love that.
it took 19 days for Pokemon Go to reach 50 million users. Just to kind of give you an example
Yeah.
of how quickly we're innovating. So even just so when my father originally wrote The Ultimate Sales Machine, it was 15 years ago. The average marketer or average business would have to use 7 different marketing mediums on average to be best in class and really, be able to saturate the market enough to, be seen. Today, it's double the amount of marketing mediums. We're at anywhere between 13 to, like you had said, 19 with all of the social media platforms, right?
There's so many of them.
So we're doing double the amount of work and yet getting a fraction of the results because it's taking double the amount of touches for salespeople. What used to take 4 touches takes 8 to 12. Instead of getting 1, if you're B2B, instead of getting 4 decision makers on a call, now it's taking, I heard from Microsoft, the head of Microsoft development. I was just on a panel with her, and she told me that on average, sellers are needing 18 decision makers. 18.
Wow. Yeah. Like you said, no one has the attention span.
It's crazy.
So
so they're having to call everybody in, right? It's just
Right.
absurd. So the
crazy.
amount of work we're having to do is crucial. So something that we teach that's so important today is coming up with your message that is so clear and so concise so that every medium that you have, it's effortless and easy to go to them, and you're not having to recreate the wheel with what you're doing on Facebook ads has to be completely different from what you're doing with trade show booths, and what you're doing with press releases is, all of these is a different
you
group
need
doing a different thing.
Similar
right?
messaging is key.
One core message. We call it a core story, right? And what we do is we blend the understanding of, because people fundamentally have lost trust in our world, especially with millennials. We trust a mom blogger over the 5 p.m. news at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't. Me too.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, I'm always going to go to the influencer over what you hear right now.
Right. We've lost
lost trust.
We've lost trust. I mean,
we
you look
have.
at it with religion, how many people are leaving churches because they don't believe in organized religion. We're seeing it with corporations. They don't believe in the big bad corporation. They want to support local or people that believe in a mission, or they'll buy a shoe just because they know that it's recycled and given to people in Africa, right?
Right. They love that.
There's this interesting dynamic happening where we've lost the trust. We've become so jaded. So if you use market data as a way to back up everything that you're doing in your world, how interesting that people will find that logical approach to be much more trustworthy. We have a fundamental trust in science. So can you use market data to assist yourself with your marketing and sales approaches, right? When you're talking, to validate what you're saying.
Right.
And then also, so we think of the meeting that we had last Thursday, and there was something that I was supposed to do, but I don't remember it now, right? Because our attention is everywhere.
Yes.
And yet I can remember the whole plot line of the Netflix show that I consumed last night.
Right.
So there's
true.
there's this story aspect that is so crucial. So what we teach is this combo of, can you blend market data with story to be able to tell something that's so compelling that you've got the attention of both the scientific analytical mind with the entertaining creative mind of story.
Right.
That's
two different people right there.
Yes, and that
Interesting.
grabs the attention, and then can you educate people into trusting you as the only logical choice?
Right. Yep. People love people that can be educational, where you're giving them something of value instead of trying to sell them. Like,
Yes.
buy this now, do this now. Like, no, people don't want to be really sold to.
I'll give you a stat on that. 97% of prospects feel that salespeople are too pushy today. 97%. It's gone up absurdly. I'll give you another one with ads. So 3 years ago, 60% of consumers felt that ads were annoying and obtrusive. Now we're up to 90%. So people don't want ads. People don't want to be sold to. They just want education. They just want to be educated clearly and concisely so that they can make a logical conclusion. So the question is, you as business owners, right? Do you have that information readily available? Because I'll give you another example in automotive. So 10 years ago, the average consumer would go to 6 different dealerships before making a buying decision.
Right.
Today, they go to 13 websites on average and only 1.8 dealerships. So all of that buying decision is happening online.
And usually by the time they get to the dealership, and this is even because we do a lot of in real estate as well, like they'll know, I want this elevation, this floor plan, or they know the car that they want.
Yep.
And they just want to come in and test. I want to test drive this car.
Yep.
And I don't want to stay here.
Yep.
Let me have my paperwork ready.
Yep. Much stronger of a buyer.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very educated. And it depends on which industry you're in, but with real estate, absolutely. They really struggle with that as well. So how are you educating? How are you putting that information out there, even if you're B2B? So the average B2B prospect looks at 5 pieces of content on average before they make a buying decision, before they even will pick up a phone and dial. And sometimes they don't even want to dial. I just closed a $35,000 contract DMing on Instagram. I said, hey, you want to get on the phone? Let's talk for 22 minutes. He's like, if that's a sales call, I don't care for it. I'd rather just go to an order page. Send me an order page. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. Like, okay, an order page for $35,000. Sure, why not?
Okay, all right.
So it's a different world, and our prospects are
is.
coming through a different way that they want to purchase. But I'll give you one thing. One great thing about business owners like you that have so much experience and so many years of knowledge on that, it's just a matter of taking what you said to people face to face, right? And then putting that same thing online.
Yeah.
Which is great, which is what you have over the younger generations that are just trying to figure it out. They really don't know. And they're thinking that if I post something on social media, people will buy. And that's not really the case, right? They don't know how to interact with people. And that is where the gems come from. You test a marketing or sales message by getting in front of somebody and seeing if their face lights up, right?
Right.
Whereas on social, you're just kind of putting out a video on YouTube and you hope people like it. You have no idea if they do or not. Maybe one comments, right?
Yeah.
I got thousands of views on that. I even got 100 views on that. If you had 100 people in your living room and you gave them that same presentation, you'd be thrilled to have 100 people. You get 100 people to watch your thing online and people go, oh, I only got 100. Other people get million views, right? It's just a bizarre framework. So I'm so glad.
But if it's 100 of the right people, you don't need to have the million views.
Absolutely. And that's the
Yes.
shiny object syndrome too, is that you have a new generation that feels that I need a million views.
Yeah.
Or I need to build my brand, which just
You just
every
need a few of the right people watching it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When I was on Clubhouse, when Clubhouse was the cool hip thing for a couple months there, flash in the pan, very strange that came and went so quickly. But I was hopping on and these new businesses would come on. I'm not used to talking to startups. We do assist them, but it's not my core demographic. It's much more of the established business. They'd say, well, I'm thinking about starting my business, so I want to build my brand. What do I need to do to build my brand? I'm like, find a product and start calling everyone you know and try to sell it to them. That is how you build a business. It's not trying to build your personal brand. Like, I get it, but
Yes.
I'm definitely more of the, as long as you have that skill set, you can bring that online so much easier because it's tried and true and you know it from experience and
Yes.
being with people and experiencing people and seeing what they like.
It's so true. Yep. Being able to go on and tell that story. And I think a lot of people do get intimidated by, online and, oh, we only got so many likes and everything's,
Yes.
even, the younger generation and what happens to them and their self-esteem. But it's not, it's having like a couple really great people that like
Yes.
what you're doing, that you can make a
Absolutely.
difference with. You don't need hundreds of people.
Absolutely. And you don't find out until they tell you or you're interacting with them, right? I'm
Yeah.
experiencing that right now where so many people don't say anything about what I'm posting online or
Yes.
very little.
Yeah.
And then I get in front of them and they're like, I loved it. I loved this. Like you said to me today. I'm like, I'm so glad you love it. I don't get the feedback, right? Unless I'm sitting in front of people
Yes.
and asking them, or they come in and finally they say, I want to buy, right?
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of that too is the, I call myself the older demographic, because they are definitely online. They're watching, but they're not the types to really comment on a lot of things or like a lot of things. Like the younger generations, they're all really more interactive and that kind of thing. So you don't really know. But the same thing, like I'm always posting all this stuff, and I get the same thing, like, wow, like I really love, like, how's the studio going?
Yes.
And I love what you're doing over here, and well, I love like the branding that you're doing and how you're representing yourself. I'm like, wow, thank you. Because
Yes.
it's hard sometimes because if you're not getting the feedback that you would think that you would want, but people are really watching and they're paying attention. And
They are, and it's crucial to the buying
Yeah.
process today. I'll tell you one piece of feedback that I got from one of my mentees who I just love. So this kid, his name is Luis Garcia. He's not a kid. He's like my age, nearly. But he has grown, so he was growing social media followings to 1 million followers and then selling them off like real estate before that was even a thing.
Right.
It was bizarre. I mean, amazing how he could craft a message and create a following so quickly, a very, very diehard following. Very interesting. That was a gift of his.
yeah, it's hard to do.
Really hard to
Yeah.
do. And he's done it like 10 or so times, something crazy where he'd build up the following and then he'd sell it. And he was doing influencer marketing for a long time as well. Law of Ambition is now his personal handle. He has about 250,000 followers now on that particular personal brand, but he never wanted to build a personal brand, and then finally he's like, okay, fine, I'll do one, but I'll just do it. So why he does it, which I find fascinating, he does it with every post, it's him reminding himself of what he learned that day. So it's almost as if it's his own self-reflection of his personal development in understanding himself and growing. Instead of I'm writing this for others, he's writing it to up his own game, right? So like, this is what I learned today. And it could be something that he learned from his therapist and he's sharing it to everybody. And it's very raw and it's very real. And that's what the next generation loves, raw and real,
Yeah, they
because,
do.
this world is full of fakes today. So I
Yes.
want raw and real. I want authentic, right?
Absolutely.
So that's an interesting paradigm shift, I thought, of what is the intention for how you're posting, right? I'm bringing people into my world to share something and reflecting back for myself what I've learned so that it helps everyone else as well as I'm validating my own realizations.
Yeah.
It's
And
interesting,
I
right?
think if you really like bring it out and talk about it, 'cause I'm starting to do that a lot of, now that I've started this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of mindset is, oh, we can't talk about that. We can't especially my generation we're kind of grew up to learn how to be, our parents are very private and you learn like, oh, we can't tell the world that. But now that I've been, doing this for so long, it actually feels good to be able to say that, nobody's perfect. And here are some things that I'm going through right now and I'm processing, and it feels good to kind of get that out and to have conversations, because as I'm talking about this and some of the things that I might be personally going through, it's probably helping somebody else as well.
Yes.
And it's helping me at the same time.
Absolutely.
I'm learning that and I'm loving it, just to be more real and not hide behind like, whatever it was, you don't have to be like that anymore. And
Right.
I really love that.
What's also brilliant is that because of the internet, we've gotten so much more connected. So people are able to find other people that are like them. So yes, you come out and say, this is who I am. And you may deter some that don't feel that way or disagree.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid not to be liked.
Right. But when you are clear on who you are, you will gravitate and attract more people like you. So I've found, I look around right now at the clients that I've personally taken on. I have coaches and consultants and all of that, but every once in a while I'll cherry pick my favorites. And I've found that I'm surrounded by people that I just love and completely align with my personal mission, which is great. I have a $56 billion health insurance fund that wants to change from sick plans to wellness plans. They want to be the number one healthcare plan in America, and they want to adjust how we have health today, which I have dedicated since I took care of my father in the hospital. I lived in the hospital for a year. I'm very clear on how that process is, and there is a point and a place for doctors, but then there's also a point and a place for us as individuals to take responsibility of our own health. How can we do that? How can we eat healthy? How can we think healthy? How can we be that person that we want to be? So I've studied that intensively. So to be able to have that kind of a client, and I found them because they saw me and they saw what I'm about and how I share about working in a garden or loving gardening or loving my spiritual path. And I thought nobody would be okay that I have an Indian guru. And if you really saw me bleed, you'd see that I'm actually more Indian than I am American. But that's been great because I've been attracting more people that think that that's really wonderful as opposed to thinking that's weird. And then I'm cultivating this tribe. And it's not because I'm faking anything. It's just because I'm me.
No, I love that.
And salespeople are doing this too, which I find fascinating as well. If we look at automotive, which is one of the most commoditized industries, we were talking about it, right? People are doing all this research. It's almost as if, how much do we really even need car salesmen at this point? It's becoming that, and it's a big question on a lot of the heads of car dealerships, right? So I spoke I keynoted at the Pinnacle Society, which is the top 1% of automotive salesmen in the United States. That's the way that they come together. And they're all, the average automotive salesman sells about 10 cars a month.
Right.
These guys are selling like 50, 60, 100, 200 cars a month, which, you tell a car salesman that this guy is selling 200 cars a month and they say, that's impossible. Oh no, it's possible. And that sales guy,
I can see that.
That sales guy is generating all of his own leads. He's not even getting anything from his business owner. That is the ideal salesperson in 2022 that is creating so much of a tribe and a brand online that they're bringing in their business based on who they are, what they speak about, how they educate, right? So how can you cultivate that from a business standpoint, from employee standpoints? It's fascinating, the world we're living in, right?
Yeah. Wow, 200 sales. Just kind of
absurd.
I'm sure talking a lot about things that he loves and what his passions are, but then educating a little bit on the cars at the same time.
Exactly.
But it's probably like, maybe that's a third of what he does.
I'll tell you about him. His name is Frank Cronetti, and he's actually the number one used car salesman in America. And yet you would think nothing like a used car salesman. He is he is nothing like that stereotype, which I find really entertaining. So I when I interviewed him, I'm like, how do you get that many leads and how do you close that many deals? And he's like, I hate to break it to you, but it's not me. It's my tribe. So he'll post a car online and say, he uses a hashtag, he says, who's next? And you'll watch it. I find it so fascinating. I'll watch him. People start commenting saying, oh, Shirley, this looks like the car that you need. Oh, Bill, this person, you were just saying you wanted a car like this, right? And so everyone is like at a fast pace trying to get that car from Frank. And I'm looking at this going, this is so crazy. He's no longer having to sell. He's just serving. And because he's being honest about what he's going through in his day to day. He shows his kids every once in a while. He's at, courtside because he just loves basketball. And, they create this relationship with him where they love him. And then with every person that purchases, he does this thing where he shows them showing a thumb because that's his brand, right? He's branded himself as a salesperson.
Right.
He's showing his thumb as a thumbs up. Who's next? And they say, who's next? And he posts it every single time he sells a car. Every single time. People will come to him to buy a car just to get on his Facebook feed saying, who's next?
Oh my gosh, I am definitely going to check him out.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
So for every new client you have, are they posting on their social media? Do you have a system and a process in place for them to say something and acknowledge them, and so that their whole network then sees that you're working together, right? It's like, whoa, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Interesting.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You have given so many great tips today and advice. And this is coming into the new year, such a perfect podcast.
Yes. Well, I can give one more gift.
Yes, please.
So for anybody that wants to double the size of their company in the next 12 months, we put together a training for it. It's for free. It's on howtodoublesales.com. Easy to remember. How to double sales. You wanted to double sales? Howtodoublesales.com. You answer 5 questions, and then we'll give you a free training on how to double your sales. It depends on what your problems are, what size you are. It calculates it, and it dumps out a training manual for you.
Oh, I love that.
How cool is that?
That is so cool.
Yeah. So howtodoublesales.com is a great, and if you want, you can pick up the Ultimate Sales Machine. It's an amazing value. If you don't want to pay for it, also we give Chapter 4 away for free. So
when is the new book coming out?
September. I'm with the Penguin, so they're in a mass exodus right now, or they don't have enough printers for paper. They're in lock. It's a supply chain issue.
Oh, wow.
They can't print enough books, so we had to push it all the way to September.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's going
crazy,
on everywhere right now.
Yeah, so the only reason it's done, but it's going to take 9 months to print books.
Well, I will make sure that when the book comes out, we let everybody know, and hopefully we can get you on the podcast again to talk about it.
I would love that.
Yeah. Oh, this has been such a great interview, and thank you so much, Amanda, for coming here today.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, Kelly.
I love it.
Well, I love your space. I've interacted with it for, last year as well. I love coming in, and all the awards on the walls are so brilliant. I went back to my staff and I'm like, we've gotten awards. Like, why don't we tell people about them? Because I loved all your awards. It just shines how much great work you do.
Yeah, I've kind of had them kind of scattered all over the office. They've, kind of cluttered it all over in different places. And I'm like, I go, it's when you're with an agency, it's like, you don't really get that pat on the back a lot from the client. It's always about, okay, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? So for my team, it's, entering into these awards, and I do that for my team. So they know that they did something great and spectacular and that they're recognized for it. So that's why I decided to build the big trophies shelf. So every time they walk upstairs to go to work, that they can see that they have something to be truly proud of.
I love that. That's so great.
Yeah. So instead of having them scattered all over the way I had before, I just wanted to build something that they would see every single day when they went up to their office to work. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah. I love the intention behind that. That's great.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's a cool thing too. I think we went over well over 100 now.
Wow.
And yeah, people are like, awards don't mean anything, but it probably doesn't mean much to the client. I don't think they care a lot about it, but I think it means something to the team that they did something really great and spectacular.
If the client doesn't like it, then they've got to get a test, or they should watch our training on how to use press to get that out there and let people know.
Right.
Everyone should know when you get an award.
Yeah.
And you should be repeating it over and over again. It should be part of your core story.
Yes, it should.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great. Oh, this has been so lovely. Thank you, Kelly.
Well, thank you. And thank you for tuning in to Learning Curves today. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave a review if you love the show. Appreciate it. This was some really great content. And thank you again, Amanda.
Thank you.
Second Soul Studios is a full-service production studio with capabilities for photo, video, podcasting, editing, co-working, and more. Our photo video studio has a number of different backdrop choices and props to choose from. We also have a gourmet kitchen set, or if you're an upstart podcaster, you'll love our 4-person podcast studio. So what are you waiting for? Visit secondsoulstudios.com to book a tour today.